Hey, welcome back to another episode of the She's Making an Impact podcast. I'm your host, Rachel and Ngom. Today, let's talk about SEO, search engine optimization. How can you rank on the front page of Google? I brought John Vuong here. He is a seasoned sales professional, internet marketer. He has been running his own agency, Local SEO Search, for a decade. So he definitely knows his stuff. In this episode, we're diving into all things SEO. How can you actually master SEO so you can beat out your competition, rank number one on Google? So we're going to dive in. Let's do it. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited. I'm honored. And thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, I'm excited to jump in. So tell us just a little bit about you and what you do.
So I started a digital agency called Local SEO Search 10 years ago. Prior to that, I was in sales, advertising sales in print and digital for 10 years. But when I left, I kind of didn't know where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, but I wanted to serve business owners. So that's why I got into SEO, not knowing much about the whole industry and what it does and how it works, but I figured it out. So it's been a journey, to say the least.
Yeah. So for those of us who don't know, what is SEO?
Search engine optimization.
And why is SEO important?
So it's important because if you're a business owner, you need to understand how to optimize your website for the users who are seeking out your products and services. Mm-hmm. The ones that don't know you by name or brand or searching nearby, they're going to type in keywords. And if you're not found via the keywords that the users are seeking out, you're missing out an abundant amount of opportunities of being there when people are ready to buy.
Got it. Could you explain what a keyword is?
Yes, of course. So back in the day when I actually worked at Yellow Pages, I was there for 5 years. The categories were broken down to, say, the plumbers, dentists, lawyers. And these are specific keywords that people like me and you are typing into Google searches today. So a keyword is a phrase that people may be seeking out, like the best restaurant in Florida, for Chinese restaurants. That's something people would type in, and that's a keyword.
Okay, so that would be like a long tail keyword example.
That's correct. There's a lot of forms of keywords, broad semantic keywords, and exact match keywords. So you want different variations of keywords because every user is different, and they're going to type in different keywords based on the scenario and the journey of where they're at in the buying cycle.
What were those different kind of keywords that you just mentioned?
So there's exact match, broad terms, long tail keywords, but we can subset the keywords into different batches as well, from informational type keywords where people are trying to figure out what certain things are or how to do certain things, to then more navigational where they're looking for a specific service. Right? They're looking for a specific drain service for a plumber, right? To then transactional types of services before they do the reviews and reputation. So there's a lot of different stages and different keywords that people are going to type in, and you try to scatter it throughout your website to hit people at different stages throughout that entire buying cycle.
Okay. With your keywords, so you mentioned the broad exact match. Do all keywords need to be like exactly? So like, let's give the example, best Chinese restaurant in Orlando, Florida. Do we need to use that exact phrase that people are searching, or could it be, best Asian restaurant or best restaurant in Orlando Chinese? Or how do we figure out what needs to be exact, what doesn't need to be exact?
Rachel, that's a great question because every user will type in a variation of that exact keyword that you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. But Google's smarter than you think, and they're going to batch the different types of keywords into a group. And each of these groups will have different variations of keywords from past tense, present tense to future, and every question and variation within it. So what we have is tools to give you better volume and groupings of keywords that would match a subset of different keywords. So we talk about keyword mapping, keyword clusters, and pillar contents, and understanding why you need a lot of different types of content to match the user's intent so that it gives you more favorable search results when people are searching that kind of broad terminology.
Okay. What's pillar content?
So remember we were talking about groups?
Yeah.
So this is like a category of that keyword phrase that you just mentioned. But the bigger broad term would be Chinese restaurant, Florida, Orlando, Florida, right? And then within there, it would be top Chinese restaurant, best Chinese restaurant, hidden gem Chinese restaurants, right? Like there could be any form variations of those. And there's going to be a lot of the other ones like best reviewed Chinese restaurant or near me type of queries, right? So you need to know which keywords have volume, which one works for which piece of content, and they all have to be interrelated within your own website. So you start off with the broad term content piece, and within there, you're going to have clusters of content that support that main broad term.
Okay. How do we figure out how many searches are being done and if it's actually a good keyword that we should use?
This is where tools come in to help support your initiatives. So Google has a couple of tools, Google Search Console and Google Analytics. So those are free. There's also a lot of paid tools that help with keyword research. Uber Suggest, there's SEMrush, there's Ahrefs, there's Keyword Tool IO. There's a ton of tools out there that give you some sort of volume-based prediction of monthly search traffic. And this helps you plan out and map out which keywords that you want to write content for within your own website.
Which one would you recommend out of all of those?
We use all of them.
Okay. Why?
Because every tool doesn't have the most accurate indication of search volume. Okay. The only absolute accurate one is Google, but Google doesn't want you to know. So these tools try to combat Google. And what we try to do is use our guesstimate based on what other software has and provide the most relevant based on the queries that are important for the customers.
Okay. And what are we looking for in terms of search volume?
Again, there's things to consider when you're looking at search volume. You don't want just high search volumes and high competition because the type of terms that you're going after might not be convertible traffic. It could be informational based traffic that people are just learning themselves, how-to videos. So it's very top funnel centric versus converting traffic that people want to buy now, right? So they're looking for discounts, price shopping queries, right? Where they're going to have intent to actually make a purchase. So understanding different terminology based on what your end goal is. If it's a brand awareness campaign, then of course it's all about impressions and maybe clicks. But if you're looking for a paid kind of transactional product play, then a coupon code or some sort of transactional monitoring would allow you to understand to see what works and what doesn't a little bit better.
Okay. So like, let's say we're using Uber Suggest. That's one that I'm really familiar with. And so I'm sure you've done this before where you type in a keyword and let's say it has like a decent amount of volume, search volume, but there's a lot of competition. Would you still use that keyword even if there's a lot of competition, or would you kind of play around with it until you find something that's low competition with high enough search volume?
So keyword research is one thing, but the other component is authority.
Okay.
And you have to look at who are the first 10 listings ranking for that given keyword. So you have to play around, do research within there. And also there's tools that tell you how many backlinks there are, how many are direct match, anchor tags, and how is the referring domain piece. So understanding the metrics behind each of the keywords and the websites that are currently ranking will determine if it makes sense for you to go after that term in the first place or not.
So you mentioned authority. What does that mean?
So authority is trying to represent yourself as a thought leader. So in Google's eyes, all they can see is links as one of the major authority figures. Trust, reputation, these are all signals, and there's over 200 signals to rank a website. But what is a very strong component of it all is backlinks. And backlinks, if you break it down, not just in the digital world, but in a traditional standpoint, B2B or B2C businesses in your community, it used to be reliant on word of mouth referrals, someone saying something to others because they had a good experience. So now in this digital world, it's very similar, where peer-to-peer or peer-to-community, people say something that's great about them, they include a link back to their website. It's a do follow link, hopefully, and it has already authority to amplify your own website. So their website is credible, niche specific, and relevant to your own industry. It's going to pass over some of the juice onto your own website.
Okay. So how do you suggest we actually get some of those backlinks?
So this is where a link building campaign and team comes into play, because some of these people are great at relationship building, pitching, and then creating some sort of backlink campaign for your company, right? So we have a full team that does this, where their whole objective is to build relationships on behalf of our clients that are niche specific websites that you can guest post or contribute content and be a leader and expert for their website, on their blog or somewhere on their website that links back to your own website. So it takes a lot of time and effort, but these people have been doing it for 5-10 years. They know exactly what it takes and how long it takes. And it's all about the relationship piece, very similar to sales and marketing.
How many backlinks do you think would be sufficient to really gain that authority so you can rank number one on Google?
So again, this is a very difficult question to answer without knowing who your competitors are, how authoritative they are, and what industry and keywords you're going after. So it's a lot easier to go after low volume, no competition versus a broad term with thousands of search volume that is a hyper competitive medical website, right? You have to look at which market you're playing, which niche, which industry, and locale as well. So I would always look at your current state and who the major competitors are and see what it takes to really take them over or surpass them. By putting that into play, you will definitely understand what efforts are involved to outrank some of your major competitors.
So if you were to look at, let's say it's like we're in the online marketing space and we want to rank for keywords that have to do with, like, let's say funnel building or SEO, and there's already people in that space. Would it even be worth it to try to rank for any of those keywords? Or you're like, nope, you can't, it's not even worth it?
So again, there's a reason why certain websites are ranking. It's not just they've been in it for a very long time. You can look at the track record when they started and what's the volume like that they retain. But you also have to understand how much time and energy and effort it takes to build your own backlink profile as well. So to be honest, I would say look at your competitors and go after the quick wins to make sure that some of these campaigns are effective.
Mm-hmm. What would be a quick win?
Long tail keywords in low competition and convertible traffic, intent focus. And once you see some of the traction where you're getting some leads that convert into sales, then you will invest more heavily, knowing that this is a medium and channel for sales growth.
Got it. Okay. So you mentioned pillar content, and convertible content. Is there other kinds of content that we should be thinking about creating?
Yeah, so everyone thinks about written content as their main piece, and Google scrapes and with the algorithm, they try to sort based on your user's intent for written content. But as you know, YouTube is a huge creator of content today with video format, and to optimize video is very important. And depending on your type of product and service, visual has a huge impact for certain industries. So look at creating good, compelling videos as well as audio, like podcasting, because there are sites like, Spotify and other streaming podcasting sites that people may be searching for, as well as images, Google Images, and you can post it and share it on social media, on Instagram, Pinterest, etc. So there's a lot of different avenues for content that you need to figure out what's important for your industry and business to then resonate with your users, because every user is different based on the industry that you're partaking in.
Got it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just like a written blog post.
That's correct. So you
Cool.
need to know your customers to then resonate with them at different stages of that buying cycle.
Okay. And when it comes to, ranking for a keyword, what are some things that we need to have in place within the blog post to make sure we have a good chance of ranking?
I think it's all about resonating with the user's intent. So within a blog post, you need to, of course, have proper title tags, meta description, and keywords in there. But is it answering a question that someone typed in the search result, right? And what content is existing currently, and what are you offering up that is better or more important? Do you have more statistics? Do you have more references? Do you have better content? Is it longer? Is it more in depth? Is it more relatable? Is it answering a different subset of questions that other pieces of blogs are not even answering? So writing a piece of content takes a lot of time and research, as opposed to just writing it for the sakes of writing it.
Right. Okay. We had Neil Patel on, the creator of Uber Suggest, back in 2019 on the podcast. What, if anything, do you think has changed in terms of SEO since then?
Yeah, so 2019, with SEO, I think with search engines, it's becoming way more competitive.
Right.
With this digital age, last 2 years with COVID, everyone's spending more time in front of a computer, doing way more searches, and everyone wants to do it real time themselves, and they think they can do everything themselves. Reality is, more competition means you need to be different. You need to stand out. And I always look at the hard ways to get things done. So yes, it may sound simple, but you may need someone that knows exactly what to do, because within that keyword research phase, there's probably 10 hours of real in-depth keyword that needs to be done to get it done properly. Same with link building. There's now experts within subsets of SEO, from link building, keyword research, audits, design work, development, speed, compression, everything to do with the entire campaign. So it may sound easier, but it's harder and harder to rank. And that's why there's experts within each of these subsets within SEO now.
Whew. Okay, so if we're listening and we're like, holy crap, this sounds a little bit overwhelming, what are some steps that we can take to simplify this process and just get started?
So depending on where you're at with your business journey, for all the listeners that are just starting their digital campaigns, from Shopify sites to building an online digital presence, I always say be knowledgeable to a certain stance, where then you can ask the right questions intelligently with a service provider that you want to hire. So as a business owner, I now understand the the whole motion of teamwork and scale and understanding what needs to be done at scale. So be knowledgeable, insightful by watching videos, joining communities, going to some of these events, so that when you're ready to venture into this new digital world through SEO or paid ads or social media ads, you know exactly what needs to be done for your business to have it work well. There's a lot of agencies that are very broad focused. I would also look at specialized agencies that have done campaigns with a really good track record for your type of industry, because not all agencies are good at every single niche or market or subset of products or services. So understand which market you're in to look for an agency that supports your venture at this stage of your growth.
Got it. And if we're not ready to hire an agency and we want to do all this on our own, you mentioned Uber Suggest. What are some other tools that we should have to make sure we're doing this right?
Yeah, SEMrush is great.
SEMrush.
Ahrefs is mainly for keyword for link building, but it has a keyword search tool as well. Keywordtool.io is great. Surfer SEO is also great. Like, we use so many different tools, and there's always new ones coming out as well. And it's good to test your stack of software, because they're always trying to upgrade with development as well, some of these software. So you want to be where people are investing money for the greater purpose of staying alive, right? Their survival is based on how many users and subscribers they have. So by subscribing to all these different softwares, they're gonna do their best to retain you by offering up new different subsets within the tool as well. So, you know, we're lucky to be able to have all of these softwares to then understand what the specialty for each of these softwares are. But I would say just try to YouTube learn yourself, read a lot of content by going to YouTube videos, reading books, going to conferences, and then get more exposure to terminology, and then just getting in. Because by staying passive, by just reading is one thing, but taking action is another thing.
So taking action, what would you say we should do to take action, and how long will it take to actually see results?
Based on your market, industry, and keywords that you're going after. So someone that's brand new with a brand new website competing against someone that has been doing this for 10 years, very difficult. So go after quick wins. By taking action, I mean try, make mistakes, learn, and play around. There's nothing wrong with going in with your, say you have a WordPress site or you have a Shopify sites, playing around within there with title tags, metas, keywords that they kind of give you suggestions. See if it actually works. Play around with the keywords with different variations and add more content and see and adjust and monitor. So don't just set it and forget it. The whole process of SEO is monitor and improve, because your competitors are always going to go after you if you're ahead of them. So you always have to figure out new ways or find unique avenues to generate more traffic to your site.
Cool. I was actually just looking because I was curious. I'm like, am I still ranking for some things that I wrote from my old website? And I am. I'm still ranking for content I created in 2017.
And that's the thing, longevity of a content.
Yeah, it's cool.
It makes sense, but also there's tools that tell you how many keywords within that piece of content are ranking, and maybe there are variations of keywords that you can add to that existing piece to go after more volume that you didn't even think of. So these tools are great to not just look at your current state and your competitors, but revisiting your old pieces of content to add more substance, add more depth, and add more search terminologies and variations to generate more volume.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. So I was looking at all of your books that you have behind you. We can't see it right now since our videos aren't on, but what are like some of your favorite books that you would recommend?
I would say number one was Mindset by Carol Dweck, I believe. She hit it spot on based on that growth mindset. Never give up. Always try to make improvements. Even if you fail, you always want to learn something from it. As a parent, as a business owner, as a, life partner, relationship person, or someone that's an employee, you always want to improve. So never give up and just focus on that clarity, making sure that you're intentful in life. Another one that I really love was Grit by Angela Duckworth. Perseverance. It's like, how much need do you have to really move forward, right? And until you're stuck down at the bottom of the hole, what will you have to do to get out of that? So you need to endure some pain to then have some wins. So as an entrepreneur or business owner, there's a lot of endless sleepless nights, a lot of stress, a lot of pain that we all have to endure. It's what do you do when you're faced with those challenges and problems to overcome them? So I love that book as well.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to make an impact?
Life in general is all about just having fun and resonating with people that have the same values, right? So for me, that impact of helping as many people as I can at this stage of my life, it's all about trying to educate business owners that there are good SEO agencies out there. There are great people that want to support your endeavors. They're not just there to sell you on a dream promise, right? You just have to look deeper and harder for people that resonates with your values. So that impact of just living life and having fun throughout that journey and never giving up is so important.
Yeah. Where can we connect with you?
The best way is check out my website, localseosearch.ca or .com or LinkedIn. So you can check me out at John Vuong, that's spelled Vuong, and you can message me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. This was super helpful. Thank you so much, John, for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I had so much fun. Thank you.